The morning smelled of fresh coffee and toast, just the way Leon liked it. His mother got up early as she did every day, even though she knew he'd worked the late shift. It was a small, cherished ritual, setting the table, asking the boy how his shift had gone, and subtly probing him with motherly concern. She had been looking forward to hearing whether he'd finally talk about that strange boss of his, the one she'd disliked from the moment they first met. But this time, he didn't come. No creaking footsteps on the stairs, no sleepy grumbling, no jingling of keys. Just the ticking of the kitchen clock. Loud, unnaturally loud. "Leon?" she called. Her voice echoed through the apartment. No answer. She waited a few more minutes, took a sip of coffee, and tried to calm herself. Maybe he'd gone out with friends. Maybe he was too tired and crashed at a buddy's place. But that wasn't like Leon. Not him. He was reliable. He had goals. An uneasy feeling twisted in her gut. Finally, she grabbed the phone and dialed the store's number. After 2 short rings, a man's voice answered. "Kaufmax, Bender speaking." "Good morning, this is Leon's mother. Is my son there? He was working the late shift last night and—" Bender cut her off. "Leon showed up as usual. Yeah, late, like he's been lately." His tone was annoyed, almost irritated. Did his job and left like normal to catch the bus. Why? He didn't come home. A brief pause. Ah, well, maybe he had other plans. He's not a kid anymore. Something about the way he spoke made her heart beat faster. It wasn't just the irritation. There was something artificial in his voice, as if he'd memorized a script. "Thanks," she said quietly, and hung up. Less than 10 minutes later, she sat at the kitchen table, nervously dialing the police. The officer on the other end listened, let her finish, then gave her the standard response. "We can't do anything yet, Mrs. Mueller. It hasn't been 24 hours since he was last seen. Especially with minors, it's common for them to disappear for a bit. Friends, parties, you know how it is." "But Leon isn't like that." Her voice trembled. "He wouldn't just vanish. He has goals. He wants—" "I understand your concern, but you'll have to wait. Call us back if he's still missing by tomorrow." The call ended with a polite goodbye that felt like a slap in the face. She sat there, hands clenched around her coffee cup, staring blankly at the dish towel. Leon wasn't the type to just disappear into thin air. He was reliable, ambitious. He had plans. He often talked about saving up for his dream car. Every hour of work, every euro, was a step toward that goal. No, something was wrong here. She needed someone who would take her seriously, someone who wouldn't just fill out forms and brush her off. It took her all morning to make a decision. She searched online, flipped through an old phone book she still had in a drawer. Most of the detectives she called sounded disinterested or demanded sums she couldn't possibly pay. Until she stumbled upon a name. Private Detective John Mayer. No flashy ad, no colorful slogan, just a phone number, black on white. She hesitated for a moment, then dialed. It rang and rang. She was about to hang up when a deep, rough voice came through the line. "Yeah, John Mayer Detective Agency." "Mr. Mayer, my name is Mueller. I don't know if you can help me, but my son, he's been missing since last night." He let her talk. No interruptions, just the occasional quiet, mm-hmm. She told him everything. The call to Bender, the police's reaction, her fears. After a long pause, he said, "I'll be there in 20 minutes." She had pictured a smaller, unremarkable man, but when he stood at her door half an hour later, she was met with a broad-shouldered giant, his face weathered, wearing a dark coat, and eyes that seemed to pierce through everything. "Payment works like this, only if I succeed. If I find nothing, you pay nothing," he said curtly, pulling out a small notepad. "Show me his room." John Mayer stepped into the hallway first. His footsteps were heavy, but controlled, like someone used to moving unnoticed. He took in the apartment's scent, a mix of fresh coffee, laundry detergent, and a hint of something he recognized: nervousness. People smell differently when they were afraid. "Left?" he asked. The mother nodded and led him to Leon's room. Mayer stopped in the doorway. His eyes scanned the room, not frantically, but like a predator assessing every detail. The bed was made, the blanket smoothed out. A laptop sat on the desk, alongside some school papers and a stack of receipts. Posters hung on the wall. A car, glossy black, probably a BMW M3, a few concert flyers, and a small calendar with marked dates. "Tidy, kid," Meyer muttered. "No mess, no dirt, no empty beer cans. Not your typical teenager." The mother gave a weak smile. He wanted to make something of himself. Mayer sat at the desk and opened the laptop. The home screen appeared, empty. No files, no shortcuts, no photos. He clicked through the folder structure. Everything was wiped. Then he opened the browser. Again, no history, no saved passwords. Did he just buy this? No, he's had it for 2 years. Mayer frowned. A 17-year-old with a laptop devoid of music, games, or pictures? That wasn't normal. He pulled a small USB device from his coat pocket and plugged it in. A quick scan confirmed his suspicion. The operating system had been completely reset a few days ago. Not a single fragment of old data remained. "This was erased on purpose," he said, closing the laptop. "You've been working late shifts for a few weeks, right?" The mother nodded. "He got special permissions since he's still a minor. He liked it, more money, and he was saving for his first car. But lately, he was often alone with Mr. Bender in the store." "Describe Bender."
Mid-40s, well-groomed, but there's something off about him. Sometimes too friendly, sometimes too abrupt. Leon never spoke badly of him, but he never praised him either. Mayer jotted down a few notes. "I'll take a look at this guy." The next few days, Mayer shadowed Bender discreetly. He parked within sight of the supermarket, watched him open and close the store, followed him after hours. His routine seemed mundane. Work, home, wife, kid. No nighttime wanderings, no shady meetups. But Mayer knew the most dangerous ones were often the most unremarkable. On the third day, he noticed something. Bender didn't arrive in his usual Jaguar SUV, but in a brand new Bentley Continental. Jet black, gleaming, worth at least 200,000 euros. Mayer let the car pass slowly. On the back was a small, inconspicuous sticker. Dreyer. The name burned into his memory instantly. Where do I know that from? He could see the scene clearly. Leon's room, the shelf, that can. The label. Dreyer Meat Preserve number 47. A cold sensation crawled up his spine. He drove straight back to the mother's apartment, walked in without knocking, and went directly to Leon's room. There it still was, the can, unassuming but now almost menacing. He picked it up, weighed it in his hand, and read slowly. Dreyer Meat Preserve number 47. For exceptional tastes. Made using traditional methods. Consume within 3 days of opening. Not suitable for pregnant women. Store below 6 degrees C. Why not for pregnant women? He asked the mother. No idea. It's just meat. What could be dangerous about it? Mayer sat on the edge of the bed. Bender's driving a Bentley now, with this company's logo on the back. Both fell silent. The weight of the information hung in the air. The next morning, John Mayer was outside Kaufmax before it opened. He leaned against a gray delivery van at the edge of the parking lot, watching employees come and go. The autumn air was cool and damp, his breath forming small clouds.
Bender arrived on time, as always. This time, though, in the Bentley. Mayer watched him step out. Expensive leather shoes, a perfectly tailored coat. The man didn't look like a store manager, but like someone who spent weekends on golf courses. Bender glanced across the parking lot, and for a split second, Mayer felt their eyes meet. A gaze that lasted a fraction too long. No greeting, no nod, just that strange, assessing look before Bender walked wordlessly into the store. When the doors opened, Mayer went inside. He grabbed a basket like any other customer and drifted, past fresh fruit, chilled drinks, the bakery displays. Then he noticed it. Small, inconspicuous signs with the Dreyer logo everywhere. Mixed among the usual brands, the name kept appearing, never prominent, never obvious. He walked to aisle 17, where Leon had last worked. And there it was, a large display stand, bold red and black print. New Meat Preserve number 48, limited edition. Only 100 units worldwide, in golden letters beneath. Mayer picked up a can. It was heavier than he expected. The design was similar to number 47, matte silver gray finish, old-fashioned font, no barcode, no ingredients. Just the simple note. Meat Preserve number 48, for exceptional tastes. Limited run, 100 units worldwide. Consume within 3 days of opening. Not suitable for pregnant women. Store below 6 degrees. He turned it over several times, searching for ingredients. Nothing. No salt content, no calorie count, nothing about the meat's origin. Good choice, a voice said behind him. Mayer tensed internally, but didn't let it show. He turned around. Bender stood there, hands casually in his pockets, a too wide smile on his face. They just came in, very exclusive, only for our best customers. What's in it? Mayer asked, feigning disinterest. Bender shrugged. Traditional recipe, secret. All I know is production is strictly limited. Why limited? Well, collector's item. Some people buy them just to display, not to eat. He smiled again. This time, it wasn't friendly. Mayer nodded, said nothing more, and placed the can in his basket. He paid without breaking eye contact with Bender. The man seemed too confident, like he knew something Mayer didn't. Back at his office, Mayer set the can on his desk. He studied it for a long time, almost like a piece of art. Why would something like this be limited? He opened his laptop and started researching. He had just decided to call it a day when a window popped up on his screen. No sender, just a subject line. NR48. Mayer clicked. A video began to play. Leon, tied to a metal table.
A man in a white coat leaned over him, holding a heavy axe. A swing. Blood sprayed. The camera shook, cutting to a scene of Leon being gutted. Something, a filling, was stuffed into his body. Then, boiling, meat grinder, label, number 48. Mayer covered his mouth. The taste of whiskey and ash rose in his throat. Suddenly, black screen. The computer rebooted. Everything gone. The video, the message, every file. He stared at the empty desktop, just like Leon's.
John Mayer sat at his desk long after the screen went dark. Cigar ash had gathered in a small circle on the wood, his whiskey gone warm. He knew what had to come next, and he also knew he couldn't do it with a laptop, phone, or any modern device. If someone could manipulate his computer while he sat in front of it, they could monitor everything. And he was sure Dreyer was watching him now. He pulled an old dented camcorder from a metal case, a 90s model that recorded on mini DV tapes. No Wi-Fi, no GPS, no updates. Along with it, he packed spare batteries, multiple memory cards, a red-filtered flashlight, and a small crowbar. He put on a dark coat, then a worn black windbreaker, a cap pulled low, gloves. No phone, no watch, no bank cards, nothing that could trace him back. He took only one more thing, a small flask filled with cheap bourbon. Not to drink, but to steady his nerves if he lost control inside. The factory lay outside the city, far beyond an abandoned industrial park. Mayer parked his car a kilometer away in a dark side street, tightened his jacket, and continued on foot. The asphalt under his boots was damp, a dog barking somewhere in the distance. When the factory came into view, he felt his pulse change. The main building was dimly lit, only a few lamps glowing at the edges. 2 chimneys towered into the night sky, no smoke rising from them. He stayed in the shadows, circled the perimeter, and finally found a small, rusty back door with no cameras. The lock was old and cheap. 2 minutes, a few quiet clicks, and it gave way. The door creaked, but the wind carried the sound away. Inside, the smell hit him immediately. Not like food, not even like spoiled meat. It was heavy, metallic, mixed with something chemical. A scent he recognized from old factory inspections, where disinfectant and blood mingled. He turned on the camcorder, the red recording light blinking. His footsteps were silent on the cold concrete floor. The factory was too quiet. Only 4 or 5 workers were visible, and even they moved sluggishly, as if in a half-automated process. This didn't match the video he'd seen. There had been at least 40 people working then. The halls felt empty, machines idle or running at low power. He slipped between production lines, ducking behind crates whenever a worker glanced his way. No one spoke, no one laughed, not even a radio played. Then he saw it. A large steel door with a yellow warning sign. He recognized it instantly. That's the door from the video. He remembered the loud screech when it opened. So he looked for another way in. Nothing. No side entrance. No vent large enough. He had to go through the door, no matter how much noise it made. Slowly, he pushed the lever down. The screech came, but quieter than he'd feared. He held his breath, opened it just enough to slip through. Inside, he froze. It was exactly like the video. Long stainless steel tables, blood-streaked grooves in the floor. Shelves along the wall held heavy butcher's axes, some still crusted with dried blood. A massive meat grinder stood in the center, bigger than any he'd ever seen. The feeding chute was wide enough to fit an adult human. His stomach twisted. Leon had been in here. A sound snapped him out of his thoughts. Heavy footsteps, slow. Something or someone approached from behind. He turned off the recording light, pressed himself under the meat grinder. The steps grew closer, stopped. Then, a dragging noise, like something being pulled across the floor. Mayer risked a glance. First, he saw feet, bare, but not human. The skin was mottled greenish-gray. Then the rest came into view. Not a person, not an animal, something else. 3 arms sprouting from a broad, deformed torso. 4 eyes, 2 stacked vertically. The mouth, too wide, teeth jagged and sharp. The skin looked stretched, as if ready to split. And in its right hand, an axe. Mayer's pulse pounded. The creature lifted its head, sniffed. Then, it slowly turned toward him. The creature sniffed again, took a slow step forward. John felt sweat bead on his forehead, his hands gripping the camcorder tightly. What kind of monster is this, he thought, and where did it come from? Then, a noise, almost like a groan, but no human words. The creature raised its axe slightly, ready to strike. The moment the creature lifted the axe, Mayer moved. He lunged forward, slammed his hand against the meat grinder's frame. A deafening clang echoed through the hall. The monster flinched, roared, a deep, distorted sound that seared into memory. It charged at him, but Mayer dodged, sprinting across the room. Bender grinned coldly. Leon was part of an experiment. The meat preserves are a new generation of supplements, genetically modified, radioactively enhanced. The mutants you see are our security. Half human, half something else. Mayer's mind reeled. "You sold Leon?" he rasped. Bender shrugged. "A sacrifice for progress, for the future." Mayer knew he had to act, but against Bender and the mutants, he stood little chance. He grabbed his camera and turned it back on. Evidence had to get out. Suddenly, the creature returned, baring its teeth, and this time, Mayer was ready. John Mayer clenched his fists. Years ago, he'd been a boxer, not championship level, but good enough to hold his own. Now or never. The monster advanced slowly, 4 eyes locking onto him.
Mayer lunged, threw a sharp left hook at the mutant's face, a solid hit that would have hurt any normal man.
But the creature didn't flinch, as if the punch were nothing. Unfazed, cold, threatening. Then the creature swung the axe. John tried to dodge, but the blade struck his right hand. A searing pain shot through his arm, bones cracking. The mutant swung again, this time aiming for his foot. A hard impact. John fell to the ground, gasping and writhing in pain. With his last strength, Mayer staggered up, stumbling backward. He knew if he stayed, he was dead. On trembling legs, he lurched through the hall, past blood-stained tables and giant meat grinders. The monster behind him, footsteps loud, almost triumphant. He reached the back door, forced it open with the last of his strength, and burst into the cold night. Outside, he collapsed, panting, into a bush. His hand bled heavily. Every breath hurt. He knew one thing. He had to come back, better prepared. But now he was injured, hunted, and alone.